Why is this interesting, or what motivated it? California considered legalizing marijuana in two ways this past year. One was a straight legislative bill in the state legislature. The other was a voter proposition that just got voted down 2 weeks ago, quite narrowly. And the expectation is it'll come back again in California and elsewhere. Both approaches would have done three things. It would have legalized possession, use, and sharing of up to an ounce, which is a personal consumption amount. Most places in the United States, about half the country, is prohibited. There's a notion called decriminalization, which reduces penalties for users from a felony to a misdemeanor or a fine. This would have taken it the next step and meant it was completely legal. You wouldn't even get the equivalent of a traffic ticket. Second thing is you could grow your own. We've tried this before in Alaska from 1975 to 1990. Real quick, grow your own takes some demand away from the black market, so that's a benefit. Doesn't actually have much impact other than that. The big change, one that no jurisdiction in the modern era has ever done, is true legalization of commercial production, large-scale production for recreational use. And that's what would be different and dramatic. How we got into this is my colleague was invited to Sacramento in October of 2009 to give some preliminary testimony on the likely consequences. And she was appalled at how naive and duplicitous were the statements given by all of the other witnesses, or most of the other witnesses that were there with her. And so she realized that the representatives in Sacramento, the capital of California, were seriously misinformed. They were underinformed, and even worse, they were misinformed about this issue. So RAND, because its mission is to improve understanding of public policy issues, decided it would step in and do this now. Right? So that's the origin. That's the team, you don't care about that. The timeline's not that important. There were actually two reports. The first one focused primarily on California budgets, and the reason, and this is sort of how you think about policy analyses, is a third of the voters were definitely going to vote yes, no matter what the particulars were, because they knew they thought marijuana legalization was a good idea. A third knew they were going to vote no because they thought it was an immoral thing and it was wrong. The median voters and the swing voters were very concerned about California's budget because the big recession has created enormous stress on state budgets around the country, California perhaps most of all. And there were claims that this would generate substantial tax revenues. In fact, California's Board of Equalization did an estimate of $1.4 billion a year in tax revenue. And there were claims of substantial savings on the criminal justice side. The number $2 billion was the most commonly cited. So we focused on that because we thought that was what mattered to the people who were on the fence and might go either way. To foreshadow it, the budget effects would have been nowhere near as good as our central finding. The proponents then, after we released that in July of 2010, switched and said, no, 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 it's actually about reducing violence in Mexico. Mexico, overall homicide rate has been flat, but the reason is that their street crime homicides have been going down very quickly, but it's been offset by a spectacular increase in quite vicious gangland drug violence. 30,000 people murdered, often in very flagrant and brutal ways, including all-out assaults on police jurisdictions. It's a big problem, and so the proponents said, oh no, actually 60% of the revenues in the Mexican drug trafficking organizations are coming from marijuana sales in the United States. Legalization will solve Mexico's violence problem, and so we wrote a second report that looked at